But first, let's talk about the arts. This is a topic that Loren is more, you're much more of an expert than I am, Loren, so I'll just set it up and then you take it from here. But, we lost Opera Hamilton a little while ago. And there was recently an article just this week in The Spectator where Boris Brott, the maestro, was talking about, the challenge it always is for even something as successful as the Brott Music Festival to go in front of council and get a little bit of money. And it doesn't seem like there's a real champion for the arts on our council table. And so that was the initial discussion, and just the fact that arts funding is minimal and they have to keep going back cap in hand, and they're asked to have 0 increases year over year, which isn't terribly reasonable given, costs always go up. So council's trying to hold the line on the budget, and then the arts groups are feeling like they're having a hard time, and they're worried after losing something like Opera Hamilton, we can't really afford to lose these other artistic and cultural institutions because more people are moving to town. It's part of a draw, and it's a sign of a healthy, culturally vibrant city. So that was all that, and that's what we were going to talk about. But just this afternoon on Facebook, Graham Crawford put out one of his posters saying, isn't it funny how much money millions we can give to a stadium over 2 years, but we can't seem to come up with any real funding for the arts. And then Bill Kelly jumped on and said, the stadium has its merits, and if you want to support the arts, you have to put your butts in the seats. So I'll be on Bill Kelly's show tomorrow to pick up on that. But Loren, let's just break this down. Do you think that the arts organizations in town are underfunded by our council? Do we lack a vision for the arts here? And what do you think about the whole juxtaposition of money to a sports team versus to arts?
I think that the arts community should be supportive of sports funding, and I think the sports community should be very supportive of arts funding. There are different things. They both offer merit to complete our city. You can, subscribe to both the Ticats and Theatre Aquarius. It's not an either-or proposition. So I'm not exactly in favor of pitting one set of preferences against another.
Which was actually Bill's point. He just said, let's not make it an us or them sort of thing. But given the actual cash on the table, and you've been critical of the lease deal for the Ticats, given the actual cash on the table, do you think that this council has been adequately supporting the arts in terms of having a vision about the cultural dynamics of the city?
So we certainly have visions, but we don't implement them. Okay. This council, like the one previous, likes to do studies, new arts initiatives and new arts master plan. All we do is study. I sincerely believe that if we could allocate the funding that we have put into inventorying the arts, studying the arts, lobbying for new positions within the arts, into the arts, we could make a tangible difference. I do want to back out though and suggest that Opera Hamilton did not cease to be due to a lack of city funding. There was other issues at play there as well, and whether this community can withstand and sustain Opera Hamilton, the Philharmonic, and Boris's endeavors is now a question that has been answered as we are down to 2. So it's not just as simple as we don't put all the onus back on the municipality. The flip side of all of that is that provincial and federal funding looks at your municipal funding and says, geez, look at these anchor or bedrock arts organizations in Hamilton. They sure don't get an awful lot of love from their city, so why would the province and feds be piling on as well? The biggest issue I have is that I keep hearing tourism, ACDEV, council members, the city of Hamilton in general, talking about this amazing renaissance we're going into. Well, I remember what arts funding was like in the 80s and 90s, and it's not even close to where it is now. We're in a renaissance. Everybody cares. There won't be a single politician who
what do you
doesn't.
Mean it's not where it is now? It was higher then?
Way higher back then. Wow. That we, for every new festival we have today, we lost one from back then. Every arts organization that has risen, the landscape has changed.
So is it a fair critique to say then that a lot of the renaissance of Hamilton has been due to, as we've discussed, a lot of individual initiatives from different little neighborhoods, a lot of people investing in the city? No doubt there has been some leadership on council in terms of economic development incentives for development in the downtown core. I mean, council has had some programs that have been working, but in terms of the arts side of it, if the funding is way less than it used to be 20 years ago, has council just kind of been sliding along on these other things and avoiding the arts?
If you go every second Friday of the month to the art crawl and you walk up and down the street and shake hands as a politician, That's not supporting the arts.
Right.
It's not. It's putting your hand up for additional funding, significant additional funding for not an arts organization, not an initiative, but for the entire...
This is what I'm saying. Have they been able to skate along because of the success of Art Crawl, because of the kind of the hip factor of it, because of all these other things that are working in the city, and they've been able to just kind of step back and let the arts take care of themselves? And now we've got a situation where Boris is, I think, rightfully making the argument you are, is championing it is different, right? That's where you really pursue it.
I read that article twice just to make sure. Boris is not suggesting he's in any kind of difficulty and that he's going to be next. But we need to protect the things that are important to this community while simultaneously nurturing the fledgling arts organizations that continue to blossom and grow as well. We do have bigger problems in the arts community than just municipal support, but we need to stop our municipality from saying how wonderful it all is when it isn't.
What are the bigger problems?
That Theatre Aquarius is closer to world's greatest theater than the Ticats are to world's greatest sporting endeavor. They absolutely, it's a regional equity A house. It's as good as it's going to get, maybe with the exception of Shaw and Stratford within a driving
but
vicinity.
then you just went and juxtaposed it against the sports.
No.
Which you said earlier you didn't think should be done.
We don't adequately fund it from the municipality, but we also don't adequately support it by buying tickets and putting our butts in the seats. That the corporate support ain't what it used to be because we don't have the corporations in the city that we used to. And everybody says they love the arts. Well, how many tickets did you buy?
Right.
Which live shows do you? Everybody loves everything on Facebook. I'm not hearing from Lou at the St. Hollywood and Brody at the Casbah that their shows are always sold out. Oh, we're the music capital of Canada. It's all lies. People need to get their butts out and get their tax dollars out.
I think that was part of the argument that Bill was making. He said, you know, how many people who are negative about the Ticats here and the funding they've received are actually buying tickets for the arts as opposed to just complaining. And some people, Graham himself stood up and said, well, I'm a patron of the arts. I think a lot of people are.
Sure.
So the question then, or what we'll leave it with on this, is yes, I think Boris was just raising the point, which is that he didn't say the festival was in jeopardy, but he said arts should become a priority.
5 years in a row that the arts organizations and boards and agencies have been told no increase.
Right.
Also in boards and agencies is the police. Take what their increase has been. And of course, nobody thinks theater, dance, music is important as public safety, but it's also important as well.
Yeah, and I think listening to all of it, it sounds to me anyway, and I'm not pretending I'm a patron of the arts, it sounds to me as though Council has watched these other program, Festival of Friends, Super Crawl, Art Crawl, Friday nights, all this stuff has become successful with very little investment from the city vis-a-vis some other municipalities. And Boris is raising it and saying, you know, we've already lost one institution. Let's make sure that we make arts more of a cultural priority. I think it makes sense that we have champions for the arts.